Hello everybody, how we doing? Right, I've got something a little bit different for you. Well, it's not different, but it's different for me here at the Spencer Arms. Now, as you probably know, and I've got to apologise for any snivelling and everything else. I had that sort of like man flu last week. There's a lot of stuff going around. I thought it had gone. The fatigue was pretty bad. The cold was a bit sneezy. It weren't too bad. Never stopped me going work. Never stopped me doing much. But the bloody runny nose and the spot on the nose and the sneezing and the eyes and that, it just won't go. But I feel all right, I feel great, you know what I mean? I feel fine. Apart from that bit of cough, I feel okay. But it just won't go. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there suffering it with as well. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about is another supermarket beer, but this one is something that has made me go, ooh, because the only BrewDog beer that I buy, I'll be honest with you, is this, the BrewDog Punk IPA gluten-free. Now, I do actually like the Hazy Jane. I think Hazy Jane is still BrewDog's best beer. And I don't mind the Punk IPA, but they lowered the ABV, but they do gluten-free. So fair play to them for that. And my friend Craig's coming around tonight. And he'll either have that, but I've got some Thornbridge gluten-free beer as well. But anyway, my relationship with BrewDog, what is it? It's where it all started, weren't it? Him in Leicester, BrewDog open, we all went mad for it. Wow, there's this place that do this craft beer, and you've got all these taps and everything else. And I was a bit underwhelmed by it, but it was sort of better than what you sort of could get, other than the traditional beer. I was just starting to sort of work my way into these sort of beers. But it wasn't until I got Pentrich Brewery that I thought, wow, this is another level. But we used to go in BrewDog because they used to sell gluten-free beer there. I think it was like Dram or something. It was Drab. It weren't their own beer, but anyway, they did some, all right beers until you sort of venture out. And then I've sort of left them alone. But anyway, waffling on, I was in Sainsbury's and I was looking for my beer, getting me a few beers for Wednesday waffle that I need, going through around the supermarkets and things. For the Christmas special on the 10th of December. And I've seen this, a new one. I've not seen this before. Whether or not you've seen it before, I don't know. But guesses on a postcard why I picked it up. West Coast IPA. I don't think I've had a West Coast IPA from BrewDog. I'm sure and convinced and pretty much 100% sure. And it's coming in at 6.8%. It says crisp, clean. I tried doing this without my glasses because I ain't got much time. Coming from me. Counter Strike BrewDog. So it says punchy flavour, precision finish. There's a load of other lingo on there and a load of Japanese writing as well. This isn't gluten-free. I wouldn't expect it to be really. Has it got an IBU there? It's about the recycling. So I'm expecting this. I'm a little bit of a West Coast IPA sort of connoisseur, if you like. It's one of my favourite. It's one of my favourite styles. So I'm hoping that this comes out like a nice sort of deep orangey colour, which it isn't. But I'm hoping that this is going to be something where I can actually say. Because when it comes to BrewDog and all the politics and everything that gets sort of talked about with BrewDog, I ain't interested in any of that at all. What I'm interested in is what's in this glass that's come out of this can. I'm not interested. What happens behind the scene at BrewDog is down to BrewDog and all what goes on there, and it's nothing to do with me. I couldn't really care less, and I don't want to get involved in any of that. Like with politics, it's a waste of time in it, whichever way you go. But anyway, that said, now I know that when we talk about BrewDog, there's a lot of people that sort of talk about the political side of BrewDog and the in-house sort of side of it. But on appearance, looks a nice beer. Little bit thin looking on the colour for a West Coast for me, if I'm honest. And I am going to be honest. I'm not here to slag BrewDog off any other breweries. I know that happens. That ain't what I'm about. What I'm about is I like the Punk IPA. I'm looking forward to, they've done a new recipe apparently. So I'm going to leave that for a bit and I'm looking forward to the new recipe. I don't know whether they're going to put anything on the can so you know the difference. Is it going to still be 5.4%? I don't really know. But But I'm looking forward to it anyway. I'm looking forward to giving it a go because it is a nice bit, and it has been compared to Thornbridge's Jaipur. They've sort of said Punk IPA, Thornbridge Jaipur, similar beer. But I can see where they're coming from. I've actually had one of these to try it, and it ain't bad. It ain't bad at all. But I'm interested. It'd be lovely if they could sort of like do the recipe pretty good. Anyway, right, big sniffle. Oh, that smells all right, actually. That actually smells like a craft beer, because I always find that, like, I don't know, BrewDog's beer is a little bit chemically, a little bit not right. There's something a little bit not quite. I don't know. Like I say, it's not about slagging them off or anything like that. It's just about being honest as a beer drinker. Then you know me and the sort of beer that I've gone through. Right, that smells actually even through that foam. It isn't that thick. It doesn't look big-bodied. Some slow, steady rising carbonation there still. Right, let's just get into it. See what it's all about. I really hope this is good because I really want to fall back in love with BrewDog. You know, I want to support all the breweries, regardless. Anyway, cheers, everybody. Cheers. Just give me a minute. Let's get my taste buds going. Let's get things going around the mouth here a little bit. Let's not just like go straight bolting out the traps. It's one of those that, like, this is what I mean about with BrewDog. Like, when I first went to BrewDog in Leicester, which is incidentally no longer there, I was just a real ale drinker. You know, I was drinking all the real ales and everything else, and then suddenly this, like, I'd had a few sort of like different beers, you know what I mean? But I wasn't really a crafty. I hadn't really got into it. And then all of a sudden, you know, this came and all the different types of IPAs, these hoppy IPAs that we're experiencing. Whereas before it were more that sort of like a balance between like a real malty IPA. You know, like how Green King IPA is not really an IPA. It's just like a weaker version of Abbott. From my opinion, how they call that an IPA. But then the IPA, like the Trooper IPA I had the other day, beautiful, lovely beer actually, really, really nice. It had that nice sort of hoppy punch, but very malty as well. I expect this as a West Coast IPA to be full of hop, full of resinous sort of flavours and things like that. And, you know, if you was new getting into the craft scene and someone gave you this and you liked a hoppy beer and you got all of this and you had it, you'd think to yourself, yeah, actually, that's pretty decent, that's all right. But what it's lacking for me is it's done something with the hops to get the flavours out of the hops, but it's gave it like a little bit of a, rather than being resinous, it's a little bit canny and a little bit sort of like slightly soapy. When you get that sort of, not a hop burn, but just when you get that sort of like, I don't know, there's certain ways of getting the best out of the hops, like via the water. I mean, Richard told me the other day, I'm talking to Richard, asking about like the citra hop, and I thought it was to do with the yeast, and that I couldn't remember what he told me, but there's a lot about, if you're looking, when I talk about my videos, Richard comments a lot, and it's a lot about the water and what's in the water, which then helps get the best out of the hops without it being too, like a citra hop did, really sort of like, wow, my goodness me, softening it out. As the water profile is so important. I'd probably say that I've often heard, I don't really want to say it, but I've often heard beers talked about being a bit farting. I don't mean that as in like, oh, that smells. just a bit tanky, you know what I mean? a little bit tanky, a little bit, just a bit coarse. It's a bit coarse. It's not really super smooth. It's not really like, I'm not getting any real lovely resinous flavours from this. The bitterness level is light. It's not really West Coasty IPA bitterness, really. It's sort of like it's just at the top end probably of an IPA, but the bitterness is almost coming from that, like, it's right on the side of my tongue where I get it. But I'm not getting like a grapefruit. I'm getting really like a almost limey type of, like the citrus fruits are a little bit sucky on a lemon, sucky on a lime type of thing. It's not got that softened sort of like resinous side of it. I always said that when I was doing this channel, you know, that like I was only ever, I didn't want to drink beers. I didn't want to think to myself, right, I'm going to go and get Stella that's 4.5% and drink it and tell you how crap it is, right? That's never ever been my thing at all. I always wanted to just like, from starting the channel, I just wanted to drink the beers I love and then bring them to you. But just lately, I've thought to myself, do you know what? No, I've enjoyed doing more beer reviews, more supermarket beers, the beers that are readily available to everybody, because everybody's got a budget in there. You know, some people have got a big budget, some people have got a very small budget. So there's people who are on a small budget that do the 4 cans of Stella or the 4 cans of Carling, but with that budget, you can buy 1 can of really decent beer. And do you know what? It is more enjoyable, in my opinion, to drink 1 real decent beer than just 4 real not so decent beers. And there's lots of decent beers. There's lots of decent lagers and things in supermarkets now that are not overly priced. Good head retention on this. The colour, like I say, is really light. Good head retention. Good mouthfeel. But just not well worked with the hops, in my opinion. Let me just sip on this beer for a minute or so, just to really get into what I'm trying to think of and say, and then I'll be back in a second. Right, so I've only been on a couple of minutes. I was just thinking about Simon, Real Ale Craft Beer, because he has a love-hate relationship with BrewDog, and I'm just thinking about what he's bound to be doing this beer, and I'm going to watch him because I really do like watching Simon, and I love his honesty. You know, he does it for a living, so he does lots of it, and so every single beer that you can possibly get, he's probably doing. And I would imagine that he would be drinking this and going, oh, that is like, but not in a sort of like, oh, because I've drunk Superfly from Hackney Church, West Coast IPA, banging, Oregon Trail from Elusive Brewing, banging. That makes you go, oh God, with the lovely bitterness from the hops, but there's no astringent flavours. That's the word. There's no, you know, make a nice meal with some lemon and lime in that gives it a flavour. Make a lemon drizzle cake that Janie does absolutely fantastic. Mrs. Speno does that brilliantly. And you get that beautiful lemon flavours and things like that. But get a lemon here and go, make a curry and put onions in it. Cook the onions nice and they become Moorish and lovely and whatever. But get an onion and bite it. It's like, oh. So this is like got all the flavours. It's got all the flavours. It's got the grapefruitiness. It's got the orange, lemon, lime. It's got all them sort of flavours. And it's very, very slightly touching on a little bit of resinous. But it's all very harsh. If it could all be just softened down a bit, and I think that's down to the water. I mean, I often talk about the water and everything else, but the thing with the Citra hop, I've learnt that I know that water is the most important ingredient in beer. To give it that lovely salt. That's what the German beer is so nice and things like that, that softness. But I didn't realise that water was so important in taking like a really powerful hop like Citra and be able to attenuate it and soften it, make it like more, get all them flavours out of it without it being really harsh and like, argh. So I think what's lacking here is not the hops they've used. This has definitely got Citra in it. It's like, it's bound to have Citra in it. It's got sea hops in it. It's probably got Cascade in it as well. But it's just not soft enough. It's just a bit harsh. However, I am going to say that it's not horrible or anything like that. It's not terrible. It is a better beer than, like, say, others, but it's just not, the finish is just not leaving me, like, wanting more. It's not making me want to run back to the Sainsbury's and buy a load of these. I mean, Hazy Jane, I think Hazy Jane is their best beer they've done. Now, when I had the triple Hazy Jane, my goodness me, that was like paint stripping. It's just terrible. So I've left that alone. I like Hazy Jane, I do, and I don't mind the Punk IPA. But all I'm going to say is that, like, I just think they've used the right hops. I've got no idea what the malts are doing. They're just there to like balance it. But I just don't think their water quality is very good. Whatever they do with the water, I think that's the key. That is the thing with this. It's just not, it's not bringing out the best of the hops that they've put in there. And I would like to get more bitterness as well, being a West Coast IPA. But that said, if you've never had this, if you like your IPAs, and you've never had a West Coast IPA before and you had this, you're probably like, whoa, you know what I mean? That's all right. So if I was scoring this 10 out of 10, which I never do because I could never do that on my channel because I can never remember. If I was, my best beer ever is a 10, my worst is a 0. I think I'd just come right down the middle and I'd give this a 5 out of 10. Because I think this would be just like a fairly, in today's craft market, I think a fairly average West Coast IPA. But yeah, you know, that's it. That's my opinion. If you value my opinion, go and give it a go. It's worth a go. You're not going to waste your money having this. I didn't dislike it. I did actually enjoy it. It's the first beer of the day. I've got friends coming round. And I've got big respect as well for any brewery that does... Where's the punk? Oh, I'll put it back in the fridge. Any brewery that does gluten-free beer, I've got massive respect for that. So for BrewDog doing the gluten-free Punk IPA, I've got big respect for that. So cheers, everybody. Take care. Try and avoid this. I'm not going to say this flu. I mean, I know there's flu going around, but what I've had is not the flu. I've had the flu. It put me on my back for 6 days in bed. I couldn't move. I couldn't look at light. I couldn't use my phone. I couldn't barely open my eyes. I didn't know where I was in the world. That is the flu I had. And so when you go like, oh, I've got the flu, you're like, really, have you? But people who have got the flu, the proper flu, they are not standing in front of a camera like this. What I've got is a bit of a snivel and a bit, probably a slight strain of the flu. If you are feeling ill, you're not feeling the best or whatever, I'm sending a big, massive Speno hug out to you all because I know this flu's going around and it affects people in different ways. So it'll affect me like this and it'll affect somebody where it'll really knock you off your feet. So like, keep well, keep safe, keep warm, and take care of yourself. Much love from Speno here at the Spencer Arms. Cheers.